Jim Burrows.
As our MP, whichever one becomes MP, will you seek more improvements in our roads and a bypass for Wrecclesham?
Richard, could I call upon you to start the ball rolling for this one?
Sure. Well, as somebody who suffered a broken axle in the week after the snow, I have every sympathy with any policy, anyone advocating a policy for improved roads. I read some of the other day, I'm going to guess the figure, but it was in the order of hundreds of millions of a highways officer somewhere in the country, could have been Surrey, who was saying, you know, the amount of money it would take to sort out potholes around the county was an astronomical figure, and he was bemoaning the fact that you can't just go around and do each and every one. So as has been said already tonight, it's one of those policies that comes down to the good old favourite tax and spend. Now, being a socialist, I should probably say there should be a Rolls-Royce or a Bentley levy that should be imposed, and then that would go to mending the potholes. I think I'd be struck down by my party if I said that. So the short answer is I think any MP, any person being an MP for any area, has the job of identifying the minister, in this case in the Department for Transport, the Minister for Roads, and berating him, putting him up against the wall of the lobby every single day and saying, get more money for my local highways authority or I won't follow you in the next thing you ask me to do. So that would be what I do on that. I'm going to have to pass judgment on the bypass of Wrecclesham because I've got a horrible feeling if I say I'm for it, I'll alienate 50% of the room. If I say if I'm against it, I'll alienate the other half. So not in this whole period.
Roger.
I have to make an awful admission here that I'm not entirely sure where Wrecclesham is. But wherever it is, it deserves a bypass.
Luke, I don't suppose you know where Wrecclesham is either.
If you need my support in local issues, I will help you to represent you and your interests.
Well, Jim, less than a year after I was elected, I managed to help secure the go-ahead for the A3 tunnel, which is a £381 million project. It was a Labour government that gave the go-ahead, Richard, and I want to, and I would like to give credit to the government for that if it hadn't tried to effectively kill the scheme so many times by saying this had to be funded from the regional rather than the national pot. Actually, the real person who deserves credit for that is Virginia Bottomley, my predecessor, because she campaigned for 20 years for that tunnel, and I just happened to be in the right position at the right time, and I did a small amount. She did a great deal for that. But I think Wrecclesham desperately needs a bypass, and you know, if you and actually I can just help Richard here by saying that it's not a controversial thing anywhere to want a bypass for Wrecclesham. If you just walk on the road, the main road going through Wrecclesham, and you feel the HGVs coming through, you shake. And there are people who have this every single day of their lives in their living rooms, and it is an absolute nightmare. And I think we should do everything we can. And the truth is that money is very tight. And I started by wanting to campaign for it as an individual project. And then I was advised that the sum of money that it would cost, which has gone up from, I think it was 15 million at one stage, I think it's gone up now to 27 million, was the kind of difficult sum of money to get, and you either needed to argue for something much bigger or for something smaller. And so I've started to look at whether we could actually have a major transformation of the way traffic operates in Farnham, which would involve change at Hickley's Corner, change at the Wrecclesham Relief Road, and change in the centre of Farnham. Because I think there is a big opportunity, and I know there's rivalry between Godalming and Farnham, and so maybe it's the kiss of death to say Godalming have got something right, but the truth is that Godalming have got a system where their high street is a very, very pleasant place to go shopping on a Saturday. And it's a lovely sight to go down the high street on a Saturday and see families walking down the high street. And I think that we could do that in Farnham. Farnham is one of the most beautiful towns in the southeast, but its potential is ruined because we don't deal with traffic, and because we sadly followed a sort of 1950s, 60s ideology which created the one-way system that goes outside this front door on the principle that the only thing that mattered was increasing the speed of traffic flow and that we didn't need to think about anything else. That is wrong. And if we're going to have a greener town and a greener society, we need to rethink those basic assumptions, and I certainly think we need to remember the people of Wrecclesham when we do that.
Certainly Farnham deserves better than it's got at the moment. The traffic in the centre is ridiculous. It really does spoil the town, and there are solutions, I'm sure, that can be achieved. Many years ago, when I was in my 20s, when I was a district councillor in Newbury in Berkshire, I proposed a scheme there that was brought to fruition with cross-party support. The Conservatives seconded, or the leading Conservatives seconded my motion that started the process to change that town into a much more pleasant environment, along the lines that Jeremy's just been talking about. So I support that concept. Turning to the issue of the potholes, it's a false economy not to spend the money on them now, because as we all know, if you don't fix a hole in the roof, it gets worse, and if you don't fix a hole in the road, it gets worse. And if you try to do things on the cheap, like so many county councils do, not necessarily making a party political point here, but the Conservatives do control Surrey. If you try to do things on the cheap, it comes back to haunt you. And the money should be put in to make a proper job in the first place, and then you wouldn't have these recurring potholes.